The midday sun beat down on Highway 10, a typical Saturday bustling with weekend travelers. Families were heading out, laughter spilling from open windows, radios blasting the latest pop tunes. Among them was John, driving his wife Mary, and their two young children, Emily and Ethan, to the beach for a well-deserved day of fun. Little did they know, their joyous journey was about to take a terrifying turn. As John navigated the family SUV around a bend, a deafening screech pierced the air. A logging truck, its brakes seemingly failing, was barreling towards them, swerving dangerously out of control. The world seemed to shift into slow motion as the truck clipped a smaller car, sending it spinning through the air before crashing in a mangled heap on the side of the road. The impact sent the truck careening into John's lane, the metal behemoth bearing down on them with terrifying speed. The horrifying crunch of metal against metal reverberated through the air as the truck slammed into their SUV. The force of the impact sent their vehicle spinning like a toy, tossing them around like rag dolls within the confines of their car. John could hear his children screaming in terror, their small voices lost in the cacophony of crashing metal and shattering glass. Then, everything went black. John awoke to a disorienting scene. His ears were filled with the sickening crackle of flames, the acrid smell of burning metal assaulting his nostrils. He was dangling upside down, held by his seatbelt, the world a confusing jumble of shattered glass and twisted metal. Panic surged through him as he remembered his family, his heart pounding in his chest. "Mary! Emily! Ethan!" he bellowed, his voice hoarse and desperate. Through the haze of smoke and disorientation, he heard his wife's weak cry. Turning his head with a jolt, he saw her slumped over the steering wheel, her eyes closed. His children, thankfully still strapped in their car seats, were crying hysterically, their small faces contorted in fear. The flames, fueled by the wreckage, were growing higher, licking menacingly at the overturned vehicle. Adrenaline surged through John's veins, overriding the pain that shot through his body. He had to get them out. He had to get them out now. Ignoring the searing heat and the danger that surrounded him, John fought against the restraints of his seatbelt, his fingers struggling with the buckle. Finally, it released with a snap, and he fell to the roof of the overturned car. He kicked open the shattered remains of the window, ignoring the shards of glass that cut into his skin. He had to reach his family. He had to get them to safety. There was no other option. Crawling through the broken window, John landed heavily on the crushed dashboard. He quickly unbuckled Mary, her limp body a dead weight in his arms. Hauling her through the window, he gently laid her on the ground a safe distance from the burning wreckage. He could hear the sirens in the distance, getting closer, but every second felt like an eternity. Looking back at the inferno that was once his car, John saw his children, their terrified eyes wide with fear. He yelled words of comfort, urging them to stay calm, promising he would be back for them. But as he turned back to the wreck, he realized with a jolt that the onlookers, a growing crowd drawn by the plume of smoke, were just standing there, filming with their phones, frozen. He saw a police car parked further back, its occupants seemingly debating whether to approach the inferno. "Help me!" John screamed, his voice raw with desperation. "My children are trapped!" But his pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears. The crowd remained rooted to the spot, their faces etched with a mixture of horror and morbid fascination. Even the police officers seemed hesitant, as if the intensity of the blaze paralyzed them. John knew he couldn't rely on anyone else. He had to be their savior. His family was depending on him. With a determined glint in his eye, John pushed past the fear that threatened to consume him. He charged back towards the burning vehicle, the heat scorching his skin, the smoke stinging his eyes. He could feel the flames licking at his back, but he pushed on, fueled by adrenaline and the primal need to protect his children. Reaching into the inferno, he unbuckled Emily, her small body trembling in his arms. He carried her back to safety, laying her beside Mary, who was now stirring back to consciousness. One more time, John knew he couldn't rest until both his children were safe. Ignoring the searing pain in his lungs and the way the heat seemed to sear his skin, he plunged back into the heart of the inferno. He reached for Ethan, his son's terrified face illuminated by the flames. Scooping him up, John shielded his son's body with his own as he made his way back through the inferno, each step a victory against the raging fire. Hours later, the adrenaline had subsided, replaced by a dull ache that throbbed throughout John's body. Bandaged and bruised, he sat in a hospital bed, his family surrounding him, their faces a mixture of relief and gratitude. They were safe. They were together. That was all that mattered. Later that evening, as the family sat in a McDonald's booth, the aroma of fries and burgers filling the air, John looked at his family, his heart brimming with love and gratitude. "We are so lucky," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "We have each other, and that's all that matters." Emily and Ethan, their faces smeared with ketchup and contentment, nodded in agreement. Life had thrown them a curveball, but they had survived. They were stronger, more united. John had faced his fears and emerged a hero, his actions a testament to the boundless love of a father for his family.